Sup world. So new patch just dropped and we now have the new unique Malignant rings, which you can now farm Rashan for. And so I'm going to do a quick dive on the Rogue Malignant ring, which is the band of Trickery. So let's go over the stats real quick. It always has shadow resistance on the ring, so be mindful of that if you're going to build around the ring itself, as you of course need to balance your resistances to make sure that you're capped. It also has crit chance, critical strike damage, damage to crowd control enemies, as well as maximum life. Most of these stats are pretty meta-centric right now, considering that damage to crowd control enemies is probably the most important part of stat here, because of course pretty much every rogue build nowadays goes for close quarters combat, but that's a whole nother problem and issue later on to talk about in a different video. But for the most part, these are all stats you would generally want, with the exception of maybe critical strike damage. That could have been lucky hit, but you know, it is what it is. The thing I don't like about this ring is the fact that it's a unique ring with no unique stats. So these are all stats that you can get on like a rare ring. So none of this is really exciting, nor new or unique in terms of chasing the stats here. It's just pretty good stats. And that's kind of it, which is a bit of a disappointment. But then we go to the unique effect itself, which is basically exactly how it worked in season 1. You cast a decoy by using the Subterfuge skill. It blows up after 3 seconds, does a little bit of damage. This time around, it actually has a 12-second cooldown, which in season 1 it did not. So this kind of causes some problems because it doesn't necessarily synergize with all of your cooldown skills, and we'll kind of go into that in a second. So we go to the skill tree, and you have 4 different choices to be able to proc said unique effect. You can use Dark Shroud, which of course you're not going to do because you got the Umbras and you're going to automatically proc Dark Shrouds anyways, and those procs do not cast the taunt itself, so you can't use that to you know, kind of have a free way to be able to cast a taunt, you know, randomly as you're in battle. Then you do have Poison Trap, which is probably the best way for enemies to get drawn into the trap itself, and then the trap knocks them down, kind of giving you a really nice CC effect. So this is probably the best skill to use for it. But the problem with this is that the cooldown is lower than the ring's internal cooldown, so it's going to be every other trap if you're using it, you know, constantly. You also do have Smoke Grenade. Smoke Grenade is actually not bad. Cooldown is roughly similar to the internal cooldown of the ring, so Smoke Grenade is actually not a bad option. There is one issue with using Smoke Grenades, the fact that once you throw the grenade at them and they are dazed, the dazed enemies don't get lured into the decoy itself. They just stand still. So it can be a little tricky, no pun intended, to use Smoke Grenade with this. And then of course you have Concealment. You can do Concealment as well. Much longer cooldown of course here, but it can be pretty nice as an escape option where you just, you know, pop it and then you run, and then everyone's, you know, sucked into the decoy, and then you can go to a safe distance. Probably not one of my choices to want to use with the heart, but you can if you would like. So with that being said, let's, you know, show some demonstration of how this actually works. All right, so we're running around here. I'm about to actually pop a Poison Trap real quick. You'll see a decoy is right here. You see a little indicator above the mobs too as well whenever they are pulled in, letting you know that they have been taunted, and of course the damage is happening there. The one thing that you realize is that there is no indicator for when the Trickery unique effect is on cooldown. So that's a little, you know, not really convenient there, but as you can see, all these mobs are taunted, and the decoy actually does kind of decent damage. It does scale with like shadow damage and non-elemental damage if you want to go that route. I don't really think it's worth, you know, trying to build around it, but it's just something for you nice to know there. So we just did trap a couple of times. Let's kill this damage reduction dude there. We're gonna do Smoke Grenade now, so we're gonna pop the Smoke Grenade there. If you notice, the people in the back didn't get, you know, didn't come along because of where I threw the Smoke Grenade. So we're gonna do this again. Run around a bit more. Smoke Grenade there. Taunted. Boom. Okay. As you notice, taunt radius is absolutely huge. It's big. It actually works on bosses, believe it or not, including the new bosses. However, the bosses tend to, well, one-shot the decoys. So just be, you know, mindful of that. that the decoy is just going to get, you know, well, slapped basically in that scenario. One thing to also note too as well is that no matter where you cast it, whether you're casting it with a trap underneath your feet or you're casting it with a smoke grenade, the trap will always be right underneath you. So if I throw a smoke grenade here, for example, you notice the trap is here, right? And of course he's dazed, so he didn't get drawn in, which is exactly what I was telling you about, you know, last time. So that's pretty much what it looks like. It's pretty decent at being able to control a large area and make you safe in tough battles, especially when you're fighting against elites. But I guess the ultimate question is it worth using? You know, are you going to actually put this in your build, or should you actually put this in your build? And I really can't really answer that for you because it is a ring slot. It does take up an aspect. You have to kind of decide for yourself if that particular taunt is really worth losing an aspect for. And in some builds you possibly can. Some builds already have smoke grenades, some builds already have poison trap, so you don't have to add a skill to be able to proc it. But is the stats really worth taking and losing an aspect for? Is the taunt really worth losing the aspect for? I mean, there is positive uses, like let's say pin shot, where you want to grab everything together, shoot them in a straight line. That makes that a lot more efficient to do. So there is, you know, synergy there to really increase your output using something like pin shot. Flurry, similar case scenario where Flurry doesn't really have a large AoE, so something like this will really help get Flurry to really deal its damage like in a smaller area easier. Rapid fire, same thing. If you got shadow imbuement, makes it easier to kind of clear packs that way. So there is, you know, case scenarios where this will bolster your offense as well as help with defense too, as long as you play around it. But you'll have to decide for yourself, is that really worth it? So in my opinion, I think this is an okay an okay unique ring. It's not spectacular, it's not terrible either. It is a little disappointing. I kind of wish we would have gotten something a little bit more exciting. Trap is, you know, in my opinion, just okay. I don't think it's something that we really needed as rogue, but it is what it is. So take it for what you will. And that is pretty much it. Hopefully, maybe they'll make some adjustments to this, give us an actual unique stat for the ring to make this more of a, oh yeah, I'm definitely using this ring now type ordeal. But at the moment, it's up in the air. It's for you to decide. And that's all I got. See you in the next one.